Recent events had left her feeling pained, overwhelmed, and anxious. First of all, there was the fact that during the first meeting between Montezuma and Cortés, she had been the translator, and during her performance, she had looked directly into the eyes of Montezuma, the great governor, the supreme ruler. Her legs had shaken. Looking at his face had been an act of great transgression. She knew perfectly well that it was prohibited to look at Montezuma's countenance, and that whoever did so was condemned to death. And yet, she did it. The look that she got in return indicated that Montezuma did not like her attitude at all, but instead of showing his annoyance, he allowed her to continue to translate his welcome speech. Malinche did it reverently. She considered the greatest honor of her life to transmit Montezuma's words. What she never expected was that Montezuma would dispossess his throne in favor of Cortés, and that she, being the translator, would be the one who practically handed Cortés his kingdom. She also did not imagine the profound sorrow she would feel on doing so. It was sad to realize that her faith meant nothing when compared to Montezuma's. To see an emperor, a man who had been educated for power, give up his kingdom moved her deeply. To be a witness to Montezuma's intense faith, to the spiritual grandeur that allowed him to detach himself from his tremendous power before a spirit, that of Quetzalcoatl. To feel Montezuma's pride at being the emperor who was chosen to witness Quetzalcoatl's return caused her to shudder. Only a man who had been spiritually transformed could undertake such an exchange. To see Montezuma offer his kingdom, not to a person, nor a face, nor an ambition, but to the spirit of Quetzalcoatl, was in and of itself a mystical, sacred act. And Malinche knew in her heart that Quetzalcoatl was truly grateful, truly welcomed wherever he was, even though it was not in Cortés's body. As she translated Montezuma's speech, Malinche also experienced a spiritual transformation and acted as a true mediator between this and the other world. Her voice rose forcefully from her chest. "Oh, our Lord," she told Cortés, "thou art welcomed. Thou hast reached thy land, thy city, thy home, Mexico. Thou hast come to sit on thy throne, which I, in thy name, have possessed for some time. Other lords, now dead, possessed it before me. The lords Itzcoatl, Montezuma the Elder, Axayacat, Tizoc, and Ahuitzot. Oh, how brief was the time that they kept and dominated the city of Mexico for you. Under their wings, under the mantle of their power, the people lived. Oh, how I wish one of them would come and see. He would be amazed at what I now see before me. Me, the remaining one, the survivor of all our lords. Our Lord, I am neither sleeping nor dreaming. With my eyes I see thy face and thy person. For days have I been expecting this. For days has my heart been looking at those parts whence thou came. Thou emerged from among the clouds and the midst of the place hidden to everyone. This is certainly what the kings who came before us had said, that thou wouldst prepare to return and reign in these kingdoms, that thou wouldst sit on thy throne. Now I see that what has been said is come to pass. Be thou welcome. Thou must needs have endured great labors coming from so far. Rest now. Here is thy house and thy palaces. Take them and rest in them with all thy captains and companions that thou hast brought with thee." A great silence fell from the sky in response. Cortés could not believe what he was hearing. Without firing a single bullet, he had been invited to be ruler of those immense and rich lands. The more than 4,000 nobles and principal lords of the Mexica kingdom, dressed in their finest outfits, their best skins, feathers, and precious gems, were also amazed at these words. Cortés asked Malinali to translate these words in response. "Tell Montezuma to take comfort, not to be afraid, that I love him very much, as do all who come with me. No one will do him any harm. We have been filled with great joy on seeing you and meeting you, something we have looked forward to for many days. Our wish has been fulfilled." Montezuma then took Cortés's arm, and in procession, followed by his brother Cuitláhuac and the lords Cacama of Texcoco, Tetlepanquetzal, the prince of Tlacopan, Izcuatzin of Tlatelolco, and others, headed for Tenochtitlan. Tenochtitlan was a city whose expanse was double that of any city in Spain. On seeing it, Cortés did not know what to say. He had never seen a city like it. Constructed in the middle of a lake and surrounded by wide canals through which hundreds of canoes glided. Cortés was dazzled by the mirrors of water. He was impressed by the simple and majestic vision of an architecture that seemed to have been designed in the stars. An architecture that at the same time moved him and awoke in him anger over not having had the talent to imagine it. The contemplation of the great buildings moved all of them, beckoned them to give themselves to the city, to embrace it. But at the same time, the envy that rose in them made them want to reject the city, vaporize it, volatilize it, erase it. In them, a struggle between reverence and scorn was set loose. The more they made themselves at home in Tenochtitlan, the more their admiration and anger grew. The Mexica architecture, aside from making obvious the degree of development of this great civilization, stirred in them devotion, astonishment, respect, for its buildings possessed great harmony and magnificence. Cortés and his people were housed in the palace of Axayacat, the former governor and father to Montezuma. It was a one-story rectangular building with many inner courtyards and gardens. Some of them housed wild beasts and exotic plants, and there were aviaries where Montezuma liked to hunt birds with his blowgun. It was a palatial structure that amazed Cortés, who, when settled in his room, sent for Malinali, with whom he engaged in unbridled fornication as a way of both celebrating his victory and at the same time denying it, as if he had a desire to enjoy himself and attack at the same time, to come closer to the life in Malinali as a way contemplating his own death. He kissed her mouth, her belly, her thighs, her center, to assuage a longing so feverishly ambitious that he almost broke her in two, wounded her, ripped her apart. When it was over, Malinali did not want to look into his eyes. She left the palace and washed in one of the canals. Then she waited for night so that she could go without being seen to the temple of Huitzilopochtli. She climbed its 114 steps without stopping once to catch her breath. She yearned to confess and do penance. She felt as if she had sinned without meaning to, that what she had felt was not right, that it was not the love that was the reviving energy of life that she had received in her womb. She knew she did not deserve to be treated thus. Never before had she felt so humiliated. Was that how gods behaved? No. But the worst thing was that she could not tell Montezuma that she had made a mistake, that the Spaniards weren't who he thought they were, that they did not deserve to rule this great city, that they would not know what to do with her. The days that followed confirmed her suspicions. Cortés began to rob. There was no other word for it, as much as he could.